I suppose it's best if I tell you a little bit about who I am. And I suppose tell you my story. And I'll apologize up front to anybody who's heard this story before. I promise you it'll be one of the last times, unless you come to another one of these seminars, that you're going to have to hear it. But for me, well, I suppose everything really started as far as the journey I'm on now with my personal development was about maybe a little over 10 years ago. At the time, I was working an insane workload. I was an independent, and I still am an independent business consultant. And I had been for a number of years, and I was working an insane workload, 60, 70 hours a week, on the road 6 days a week, traveling all the time, always under stress, massive pressure, like all of us. But after doing it for so many years, I picked up a lot of bad habits because I was always traveling. I wasn't taking the time to eat properly. I was always grabbing food on the run. I wasn't staying hydrated. I was staying in hotels a lot, and I wouldn't sleep properly. And, well, you know yourself, well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. But I know when I used to travel and stay in hotels, most of the hotels I would stay in would have a bar. So, what else do you do at 9, 10 o'clock at night? You go down, you have a few beers. So, but anyway, I just picked up a lot of bad habits, and I incorporated with the workload and all the stress I was under. It just really started to pile on and really impacted me. I was grossly overweight. I was extremely unhealthy. I was just in a bad mood all the time, stressed out. I mean, pulling my hair out most of the time. And eventually, as you might have guessed, I hit the wall. I had a heart attack. I had a heart attack, and I went into the hospital to have a procedure. And things didn't go exactly according to plan. They kind of went from bad to worse. I went into a coma, and I was in a coma for 4 days. And thankfully, I came through, and everything was fine eventually. But when I got out, I knew right then and there, it's like, I got to make some serious changes in my life. So I went, and I knew I had to get my health under control. I knew I had to go ahead and start working on, well, my relationships and a bunch of other things that I had really made a mess of, truthfully, up until that stage of my life. I was always just focused on money, which was really a big mistake. But anyway, so I did what the logical thing to me was to do is, well, I started checking out different personal development programs. Now, for years, I had been a big fan of Tony Robbins, and I had been to a lot of his stuff and studied his stuff, but I had only used it for business. I used it in negotiations. I used it in trainings. I used it in management, managing my sales team. And but I never really incorporated everything that he taught into my own personal life. So I got very involved with Tony Robbins and his educational system. And again, like I said, I went to the Leadership Academy, and I studied all kinds of Tony stuff. But not just Tony. I studied everything I could get my hands on. I don't care if it was Brian Tracy, Les Brown, Jim Rohn, Mel Robbins. It doesn't matter. If I could get my hands on it, if I could listen to it, or if I can get my foot in the door to attend a seminar, I did it. And as you could probably imagine, after a while, yeah, I started creating some changes. Some of it started to have an impact. And so that started actually sink in with a concept. And but what I found frustrating was that, well, it was kind of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, up and down, side to side, back and forth. I wasn't creating the lasting change that I really wanted. And no disrespect to any of the programs. They're all amazing. There's so much great stuff out there, and all of it is, well, I shouldn't say all of it, but most of it is absolutely amazing. But for me, it didn't work. Not long-term anyway. Not to create the type of lifestyle and the change that I was looking to make some major changes. And one day the penny dropped, I suppose, and it just clicked with me. What I need is a system of personal development. And that made perfect sense to me, and I'll explain why. Because primarily, that's what I did as a business consultant. I worked with businesses, large and small, all around the globe primarily, and helping them to design different systems, different sales systems, different commission structures, different logistics systems, data management systems. It did different policies and procedures. I don't care what it was. That was my skill set. I was very good at going in and working with clients to develop systems. So I thought, that's what I need. I need a system of personal development. And it's important to know when I created this system that I'm about to teach you, it was never meant for anybody other than me. I can honestly say that the whole concept of everything I did was designed around myself to go ahead and to create the lasting change that I was looking for. So I got stuck in and, well, what I decided the best thing to do is just start researching all the things that I had studied up until that point to see what things I wanted to incorporate into my system. Because I wasn't shy and I wasn't a bit shy about picking, some of Tony's stuff, some of Brian Tracy's stuff, going back to Napoleon Hill and, Jim Rohn and even Zig Ziglar and some of the all-time greats from, many, and I'm probably showing my age now, but many, many years ago. But it wasn't long at all till I started to notice that there's a lot of trends. There's a lot, and anybody would. It wasn't exactly rocket science. But when I started noticing what I refer to as common denominators, three specifically, that every program that has any credibility, any long-term success has in common. So as I was noticing these things, again, I refer to them as my common denominators or core principles that all the programs have in place. The first one, obviously, was focus. They all talk about how important it is that, you focus on, the areas of your life that matter. And that made perfect sense to me. I'm sure it does you as well. That's amazing. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I need to control and direct my focus. But I didn't find a system of controlling and directing my focus. They would all talk about it, and they would all say, you need to do this or you should do that. But I like to say I'm a systems guy. I like a system that I know is going to keep me on track. So I thought I can do that. I can create a system to control and direct my focus each and every day to the areas that matter. So that's the first thing I did. I went in and I created a system and again, just 100% for myself of how I was going to go ahead and control and direct my focus. And from there, the next thing that they all talk about, balance. I'm sure everybody listening to this understands, the importance of living with balance each and every day. But what does that really mean? How do you know if you're imbalanced? Is there a system that you're using to, I'm not talking about a time management system. I'm not talking about a to-do list. I'm talking about a system to know at any given time, how balanced am I today? How balanced was I last week? How balanced was I last year? Am I maintaining that balance? I couldn't find a proper system that I would stand behind anyway. So I thought, well, okay, I can do that. I can create a system of how to go ahead and achieve and maintain balance in my life. And that's exactly what I did. And that's what you're going to learn today as well. You're going to learn the system I created to go ahead and achieve balance in your life long term. And the final one, and again, I know you guys have heard all of this before, but purpose. You have to have purpose and you have to have some meaning in your life, a vision for a bigger, a brighter future, a reason you're taking all these actions, you're doing the things that you're doing. But how do you know what your purpose is? How do you identify it? like I say, you talk to and you'd ask most people their purpose, they have no idea what their purpose in life is. And if they do, it's usually some huge thing sometime in the future that they're going to achieve. My purpose is to end world hunger, or I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to create this multi-global national organization that's going to do X, Y, and Z. But what about today? How do I live with purpose today? So I wanted to make sure that I was able to create and live my purpose each and every day. And fortunately for me, and you're going to see why when we get into it, that was relatively easy for me. So, and I won't take credit for it. I'm going to introduce to some, I made some modification to somebody else's system that I'm going to introduce you to. But again, those are the core principles, or like I say, the common denominators that all of the worthwhile personal development systems have in common, or wellness programs have in common. They all talk about focus, balance, and purpose.